Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Sunday Wire. Again, I'm your host, Patrick Henningsen. We're streaming out live on the Alternate Current Radio Network and also at 21stCenturyWire.com. Thank you again for rejoining us for this Overdrive segment. And things got very emotional there. Gerald Celente is a passionate commentator who loves his country, cares about people living in the United States and the future of the country, and really takes these issues to heart in a way that I wish more of our political leaders would do, and do so on principle, the way that Gerald Celente does. So it's a great privilege and honor for us to have him as a guest, especially during times like this, when this straight talk is most welcome indeed. Gerald Celente, fantastic. Check out Trends Journal, or we've got some information about how to subscribe. This is actually a publication that you should have, and it's very affordable. So again, we just want to promote that as a thing that I think people need to know about and possibly get their hands on a regular basis. You saw the sort of issues that Gerald is on the cusp of and has his finger on the pulse. His team is a great team at Trends Journal. So hopefully you guys can partake in some of that. I want to bring onto the stage right now our co-host, who's also host of the Boiler Room on ACR. Many of you will know him by his handle, Hesher, Bryan McClain. Welcome to the stage this week at the Sunday Wire. Great to see you. How are you?
I'm good, Patrick. It's great to see you too. Always appreciate Gerald Celente's take. That he just lights a fire every time. He just pours that kerosene on his head like gel, lights it on fire, and goes.
No, and then some, and he was really tearing up at the end, and it shows you how deeply he cares about people, and he cares about his country, the people in the United States, but also in the people of the world as well. It's why he's such a great advocate for peace, and his platform really should be bigger, and maybe it will be with the help of many people. So hopefully we can rally more people to this cause, because we are kind of at a real sort of critical moment, Hesher, going into the new year. There's a lot of uncertainty. A lot of crazy things have happened over the last week, particularly with these attacks in Russia by the U.S., by Ukraine. Britain and France are quite gung-ho as well. Separate Middle East conversation, but your thoughts on some of the things that we've seen happen over the last couple of weeks?
I'm a little taken aback and a little not surprised at the same time by the hubris of the Atlanticist machine and whatever it is that's controlling the Biden administration to, approve all this stuff right now. And it's, that it's amazing, that they think that nothing will happen because of it. We're what, like more than, I don't know, what are we, 2 years into this thing with Ukraine now almost? And, what is going on here? Like, yeah, let's escalate this. Let's escalate this. Let's send munitions in there, and the talking point that, oh, Putin's just a bully. He's not going to use any of these weapons. Don't worry about it. Correct me if I'm wrong, Patrick, but they have been pretty clear about what they're going to do and what kind of demonstrations they might do, and what they're going to do in retaliation if long range and medium range munitions keep coming into Russia. And now I'm hearing scuttle about 100,000 troops potentially going to Ukraine, and like Lavrov and others are basically saying, would you like to see an American base or a joint base in Poland get smacked with one of our munitions that you can't shoot out of the sky? Like what is that? Like it feels to a lot of people, standard Americans, not media maniacs like us, it's starting to feel to a lot of Americans and people are in Europe and all over the place that they're trying to start a global conflict right in the just the short number of weeks before Trump is supposed to take the White House. So what all that means, just on the edge of my seat, waiting to see.
Look, if you're sending Western troops into Ukraine, okay, fine. But there's going to be no missiles flying towards Russia at that point. So if they're talking peacekeeping forces, then let's have the negotiations. Let's bring the parties to the table. And if they're insisting there's going to be Western troops somewhere in Western Ukraine as a peacekeeping forces, that's fine. If they can pull that off, great. But there ain't going to be no attack of missiles, nothing going into Russian territory. Because guess what that means? If there's any shenanigans going on, then all of those troops become targets, and the life expectancy is very low. We're talking, 24, 48 hours or something like that, wherever the barracks are. Where are they going to sleep? A mile underground at night? I mean, that's what you're looking at logistically. Do you really want to get into a war with Russia? Battle-hardened Russia. It's had 3 years to tool up. 3 years. What have NATO troops been doing? I know they've sprinkled a few in with the Ukrainian mercenaries, and they've gone and done their little tours, little hit and run jobs with shoulder-mounted NLAWs and escaping in Toyota compact cars. That's not really a recipe for success when you're going up against a new Russian army that's been completely revamped. Did you happen to see this hypersonic missile that was fired, the Oresnik, Hesher? I mean, in terms of advanced missile tech, 36 or 64 warheads on there, clustered warheads traveling at Mach 10. So that's the conventional threat.
Yeah.
Just the conventional threat. Does Russia even need a nuclear weapon at this point?
It appears that they don't. I was watching a video about this missile system, and like this is a jump in kinetic warfare, right? Like the speed at which these things are coming completely changes the battlefield. Like you compare that to like our Patriot and cruise missiles and stuff. Yes, they're devastating. Yes, they're effective. But they can be shot out of the sky. And these things can't be shot out of the sky. As far as I can tell, there's pretty much no way to shoot these things out of the sky. So, and they come at such high speed. I mean, I was watching a video where they were talking about this technology, and they're basically saying because of the speed at which it comes, it actually can be used as a very precise munition that can eliminate a lot of collateral damage, if you will, because it comes in so fast. It doesn't behave like other munitions that those of us in the West are used to seeing.
Sure, and we have to ask the question now. So, if this is the new conventional deterrent, and that a lot of people know, I've not heard any Western pundits talk about this. So Russia's ahead of the game. They have a conventional deterrent. Without even bringing out the nuclear question or pulling the nuclear card. So that means what if let's say Russia takes a few more of these attack them hits in their territory on the chin. They've taken a few on the chin. Yes, they've made some responses there, which I think are more symbolic responses. But did you notice, Hesher, Russia revised its doctrine for rules of engagement? So that means they will consider, you know how everyone's really clever and quite bombastic about NATO Article 5, an attack on one is attack on all. The Russians wouldn't dare take on the whole of NATO. Okay, that's the trope that they're pushing out constantly, our politicians. So Vladimir Putin, if you actually listen to his speeches, what he said last week is, okay, well, we regard an attack by one as an attack by all. Ergo, we reserve the right to neutralize the source of those attacks, especially if they are weapons coming from NATO. So manufacturing, bases. So what happens, Hesher, if Russia decides to drop an Oresnik into Poland and what is it, Camp Trump or wherever the new base is, and flatten it a square mile with a conventional missile? What's Europe going to do at that point? Are they going to rush to Article 5 and to get their war on? Or are the people of Europe and politicians going to say, whoa, wait a minute. We didn't sign up for this. This is so is it going to be viewed, Hesher, as a retaliation to Russia? Or are they going to sell it as Putin has this unprovoked aggression by Vladimir Putin? Because you know how the propaganda machines work. But will it work? That's my question, because that's actually the fundamental question. It's in the political realm decides what the military action or reaction will ultimately be, right? Because we're talking about Europe here. What do you think?
Yeah, exactly. And that, getting back to, I used the term hubris earlier. This is exactly what I'm talking about, because, we had Simon from Florida come on a special boiler room last week, and he read through the entire document. We spent a good hour with the document, going through it line by line. And what is going on over there at the Pentagon? What's going on over there at the NATO offices? I mean, they must have read this, right? Like, here, for example, this is language that you'll see peppered throughout the entire thing, all 12 pages or whatever it ends up being. Aggression by any state from the military coalition, bloc, alliance against the Russian Federation and or its allies is considered as aggression of this coalition, bloc, or alliance as a whole. So think about that for a moment, folks. If a American, if a British, if a French missile is launched into Russia, right, long range into Russia, be it from Poland, be it from inside of Ukraine itself, you're in that block. If you're in, UK, France, America, or the entire alliance, talking to all of us, NATO, they're saying, hey, you might get a demonstration and you might get, a full-on event. And it's not like, oh, we're just gonna, consider Ukraine using your stuff. No. It's a block. It's an alliance. And, people aren't thinking about that. That's what really has me concerned. Or maybe they are, most likely they are thinking about it. They know exactly what it means. There's a lot of stupidity rolling around in the systems and in the government and in the Atlanticist bloc. I'll give you that. But somewhere in there's at least one person or some shadowy star chamber of people saying, yeah, okay, fine, let's do it. Let's send it in there anyway. To what ends? I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with the incoming administration, but maybe it doesn't. Maybe this is exactly what the plan has been all along. Who knows? That's sort of in the realm of speculation. But what is not in the realm of speculation, if you look at what's been said by Lavrov, by Putin, by others, and then read this document, you should be concerned about what NATO as a whole and all these the bloc and the alliance. Who's in the bloc and the alliance? Well, a lot of us, and that could mean military targets all over the place get hit if this continues.
And who's going to be blamed for that? There's only so much you could say, oh, it's all Putin's fault. It's just Russia aggression and this war of choice, unprovoked war of choice against the Ukrainians. This talking points can only go so far, because it does. This is where the propaganda becomes a problem. Okay, yeah. And so you've rightly pointed out, Hesher, Russia's put it down. It's in print. They've reiterated that vocally. That's published. That's on the record. I go to the Western side of the conversation. I don't hear anything that resembles anything within the realms of reality. What I hear the Western conversation is, Biden's allowed Zelensky to use our weapons, our ATACMS, our Storm Shadow missiles, or Scalp. Scalp is the French version of the Storm Shadow. It's the same missile. It's a joint venture between Britain and France. We've allowed Zelensky to use these weapons. We've taken the gloves off Zelensky. Is it, that's an indictment of Ukrainian sovereignty, if there ever was one. But put that aside for the moment. As I said to Colonel Daniel Davis on his show a couple of days ago or earlier in the week, the question is, that's the U.S. conversation. They bracket it like that. We've allowed Zelensky. Russians aren't looking at that. They're not translating things this way. They're saying their question is NATO at war with Russia or not? Okay, kind of a serious question. We're not having that conversation in the West. This is where the buffoonery and the propaganda and the outright stupidity and the ignoramuses in Washington, in London, in Brussels, in Berlin, and all these crazy hawks in Estonia and Latvia that are festooning around Brussels. I don't even know her name. The latest sort of model, spokesmodel for the EU foreign policy. Do they really understand what's going on the other side? And they probably don't, Hesher, because they've banned all Russian media. They've censored it all. They don't even know what Lavrov said, any of them. They don't care. They're not doing any diplomacy. There's no shuttle diplomacy. There might be some back channel stuff going on between Washington and Moscow, maybe a little bit, but from the NATO level to the EU Brussels level to the UK level, it seems like they're just in the background scheming, trying to find some new stunt to pull or some new bridge to blow up that's going to turn the tide and it'll get the Ukrainians motivated again, because I just look at the polling. I think it's a Gallup poll here. Over 50% of Ukrainians want to pursue a peace settlement now. They're not interested in the war going. Okay. So, but our politicians are saying, oh, there's brave Ukrainians. They're going to fight right down to the last man. We just need to give them everything that they need to win. So, come on.
Like they haven't lost enough men yet. I mean, the numbers, that's a shocking set of numbers. The amount of Ukrainian men and boys, young, fighting age and too old age, that have been lost so far. It's just like it's hard for me to compute that a bureaucracy, a set of international bureaucracies, have usurped the ability to have a general corps, a set of military generals that are actually understanding warfare, actually understanding maybe they don't, never mind the geopolitics of it. Like, how can it be in 2024 with a couple thousand years of military records, how can it be that we're just like sitting here going, well, is this all just bureaucratic dum-dums? They're not reading documents. They're not tacticians. They're not looking at, the chessboard here and seeing that, they're almost out of pawns and they're going to have to start sending, the rook, the knight, and eventually the king and the queen into the meat grinder. It's really hard for me to comprehend how there can't be some, I don't want to say sane military voices, but military people with the experience to say, hey, this is not a plan that ends anywhere good. And then I start thinking about the actual citizens, and it's like, do we actually like, you think back to even after 9/11, but World War II, World War I, Vietnam, Korean War, like, we didn't have the internet back then, so it's understandable to see that the things like false flags to start it off, and things like you know what I mean? Like it's understandable to see how they drag the heart and mind of the citizens into supporting something like this. But at this point, I mean, in particular with Ukraine, now that it's been going on so long, and there was such a big attempt to get everybody on board with that, and it was rolling along for the first 8-9 months or so, maybe even first year, but now you're just people aren't into it anymore, and it's like these are things that we're talking about things that could lead to people's homelands getting attacked and drastically changed in Europe and maybe even here in the United States. And do we have a citizenry here that wants this? Do we have enough people to surge into the military and make it a fighting force that's going to be effective in a battle like this? That could be, because Russia's not even really saying flat out who their bloc and their alliance is, but when we were talking with Simon, it's very clear that the potential is that bloc could include Iran, China. Some are saying North Korea. I think North Korea is a little sketchy, a bit of a CIA state, if you ask me. But anyways, it's still a player on the board. So, like, what is this bloc? And you know what I mean? Like, things could be coming from multiple directions if this really ends up going in that direction. It's not just the bully Putin who's just, oh, I'm gonna wing one of these missiles into Poland because I'm gonna hit this U.S. base just for the heck of it. Like the amount of forbearance that Russia has shown since 2014 has been quite a bit. A lot of forbearance. A lot of pleas for stopping this, and it's just push, keep pushing. Who's going to be in your military? Like, we've got our militaries. Are people going to surge to it? I look around left and right here in America, and I don't see a whole lot of young people looking at that as their trajectory, as I did, when I was in high school in the 90s.
No, the Starship Trooper recruitment ads are not going to work at the moment. I mean, look, we're up in Russia's grill. Let's just put it flatly. Like, NATO's right up in their grill. When is the last time anyone's been up in America's grill? I'm talking for real. And then migrant surges over the southern border. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about big major militaries, big military alliances pressing on the Canadian border, or landing in California, or coming over New Mexico and taking territory, or positioning nuclear weapons or nuclear capable weapons. Oh yeah, we had that in the Cuban Missile Crisis, right? So what happened? Massive diplomatic emergency, a crisis. Everybody came to the table that was diffused, and we got on with the rest of the Cold War with no major incidents between the two superpowers. Okay. Don't see any of that going on here. There's no hotlines. Nothing is happening here. So this is the problem. So we have to keep our eyes peeled, and I hope that, personally, I think I'm worried that the Trump administration didn't come out and just lambaste Biden for the attackums and the British for the storm shadows they fired into Russia. I mean, that to me would have really set the scene. And created a global public opinion backlash that would have given him a great leverage in negotiations in January. But maybe they're keeping their powder dry for some reason. But the problem with that, Hesher, is you keep your powder dry like this. What happens when the next thing happens and the escalation ladder goes up? What if it goes over the edge? Then what? Oh, well, I guess you ain't going to be able to end it in 24 hours, Donald, are you? On January 21st. Ain't gonna happen, because we've stepped over the Rubicon. Oops. Oh, better go talk to the Joint Chiefs. That's all I'm gonna say. So while all this is going on, Hesher, and speaking of propaganda, just as there was a ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon, which we knew wasn't going to last more than 24 hours, and of course it didn't, but it was timed perfectly with the release of they've let the dogs of war in Idlib out of their cages, Al Qaeda and ISIS. And here's our mainstream media, Hesher. They continued right where they left off. This is the Telegraph. Syrian war ignites as rebels launch surprise offensive against Assad. Rebels.
Oh,
So Al Qaeda, and you look in the article, even admitting these are Al Qaeda affiliates. They didn't say ISIS, but I posted all the ISIS photos on my Twitter feed. So they haven't missed a step. It's almost like this has been in cold storage. And this opposition forces, they're calling them. They're calling Al Qaeda and ISIS opposition forces in Idlib, which folks, ISIS tried to create an Islamic State in Raqqa and Mosul, straddling Syria and Iraq. It didn't work. Okay, it didn't work. But guess what? They finally succeeded in Idlib. They made their Islamic State. It's called the Idlib province. They occupy it. Terrorist occupied piece of Syria, totally backed and supported by the United States, Israel, Turkey, and our allies, believe it or not. And they just unleashed them on Aleppo, one of the oldest continuously populated inhabited cities in the world. They've unleashed them again, just as they've done rebuilding that city from the terrorist sieges during the last 15 years. They've let these maniacs out once again, and they're calling them moderate rebels, Hesher. How about that?
Moderate rebels. Oh boy. I thought we were beyond this. I thought we had spent like 5 years with these people and completely debunked it. You know, we it's just amazing, you know, and I think back to, you know, I think it was Christmas of 2018. We did that broadcast, you know, when Aleppo was, especially Eastern Aleppo, was finally getting relief from the terror, the horror that they had been experiencing, and all in the name of media psyops too. You know, is like the only reason those people had to experience all that was because it was convenient for media psyops, so that they could prop up these moderate rebels, which is, you know, just it's globalese. It's a propaganda term for state-funded terrorism, basically. So, and the amount of, you know, the amount of propaganda busting that we did here on this show over those years was, it's a pile. It's amazing. You know, it's hours and hours and it's I don't even know how many thousands of hours, man and woman hours of combined research, reporting, journalism, travel, danger, broadcasting, the backlash. I mean, we were at the pointy edge of the censorship spear in 2017. It all started with the, you know, seemingly to most people benign Google adpocalypse and Google deranking. You know, oh, no big deal, whatever, you know, and now look at the way people feel about censorship. You know, I think Gerald Celente is a great example. I think about, you know, Gerald Celente and others, you know, that I used to see, yourself and many others that I used to see on RT all the time. And the amount of eyeballs on that RT YouTube channel, amazing, absolutely amazing. And now it's like many of these voices have experienced that rung of censorship, the next rung, and then the universities get involved. The you know, Kate Starbirds and all these wackos with their heat maps get involved, and then the Atlantic Council Digital Forensic Lab, you know, is involved. Facebook's involved, and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger, you know. And people kind of didn't think about it much up until 2020, and then, you know, the big crap show of 2020 and 2021 happened, and it came down hard, you know, over the election, over Hunter Biden, over jabs, over viruses, you know, over all these things. And then, of course, RT taken down, and the Ukraine thing happened. And it's like, now it's an entire industrial complex. It's an entire industrial complex. And the mainstream conservatives have used it as a plank, right? As a platform plank. We're running on freedom of speech. Okay, well, let's go back and make some of these things right, as it, you know, as free speech is, you know, as it pertains to free speech. Let's go back and fix some of these things instead of go into the next thing, go into the next thing. you know, because this is going to get ugly. And if we're going to go back to where we were between, you know, 2015 and 2018, you know, getting back to Syria, we're in deep trouble, because that work has already been done. These propaganda narratives have already been busted, and unfortunately, it looks like they're blowing the dust off of them, and they're going to reintroduce it to the public.
Oh, yes, beautiful cue to our next item there, blowing the dust off it. There's a lot of dust. You remember a lot of dust on little babies and boys, Dusty Boy, Omran in Aleppo, all these sort of propaganda set pieces that they inundated with us. The problem with all of that propaganda is that it got a dose of reality in the last 14 months, something called Gaza, where we saw actual people being pulled out of rubble, dying under the rubble. We saw actual first responders, what they really look like in a real war situation. But this week, in the last 48 hours, guess who they've dusted off out of retirement? Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the return of the white helmets. Yes, they're back. The production teams have sprung into action as Al-Qaeda is deployed in Idlib against the city of Aleppo. The white helmets are on the scene to create Assad's barrel bombs scenes. The smoke machines have been fired up, although I will say that the budget looks like it's been slightly reduced. There's a lot of less extras on set for this, but let's look at their latest film release. This action drama film from the White Helmets, supposedly in Idlib, but this could be filmed in Gaziantep, Turkey. We don't know. Could be filmed somewhere in, who knows? It could be in the UAE. We don't know. But let's take a look at this one. It's quite exciting and thrilling.
يلا تعالوا 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 ما في شيء ما في شيء بيحكوا عنا وين في جوا شيء في حدا معتمد يلا يلا في حدا شيء لا ما تم رجال معي حطي معي يلا 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 اختي بعد بعد خوي بعد شوي بعدوا بعدوا
First of all, what do you think about the production values? I like the motorcycle. The honking was going on. We saw the dust. White helmets were there, absolutely pristine. It's as if they haven't really used the jumpsuits for a couple of years, so they're probably in very good condition. What did you think of this latest? This is one of their comeback shorts here, Hesher.
I don't even know where to begin. Yeah, I'm a little stunned. I don't want this. I'm sick of this. Like, you know, it's easier to look at than, you know, what I'm looking at in Gaza. That's for sure. You know, that, like, look at that. And then if you have this fortitude, go look at some video out of Gaza, you know, how they're dealing, you know, if that's what they're telling us, you know, this is what freedom fighters do when children are attacked. This is what it looks like. Okay. Well, apparently it looks very, very different. It looks very, you know, crushed up cementy, very baby powdery, very, you know, oh, we're trying to help. We're trying to help. Oh, there's an authority here trying to help. Look, there's someone, an official person with a helmet on.
Yalla, 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 yalla.
Yeah, yalla, yalla. It's rush in there. Get them, save them. Look, we got 3 babies out of there. They're only dusty. They'll be fine. That bad Assad. But then you look, you know, you dump into the Telegram or wherever your source is, and you look at what's going on in Gaza, and you see true horror. You see true, abject, heartbreaking, gut-wrenching horror. You know, a parent walking around with a leg. You know, pieces, like stuff that no one should have to see ever. Stuff that you would hope would not be happening in the technological, advanced world of the 21st century. You know, it's just like, compare those two. If you think that what you saw there from that propaganda unit, and by the way, if you're new to this concept of the white helmets, if you dig into the archives at 21stcenturywire.com, you can find out about their funding. You can find out about who they're related to. You can find out about a lot of fake things that they've put out. You can find out a lot about some of the children that they've used as props in some of their videos. We've been documenting this stuff for years, and it's all on the website. And that has a lot to do with why we were deranked on Google right there, because that is pure journalism, my friends. And that is not available on Fox, on ABC, NBC, MSN, DNC, none of them. It's just not there. You won't find it there. In fact, you'll find the opposite. You'll find them propping up this white helmets group. But yeah, it's disgusting, Patrick, to think that, that is the vision, that's the piece of media that people in the West see when America and other countries are propping up literal terrorist units to harm civilians, and then make a little media thing on the side to say, look, well, we send our NGOs in, they're helping save these little children that the brutal Assad, has hurt with his barrel bombs. I mean, it hurts having these words come out of my mouth again, because I thought we were beyond them. I had enough hurty words coming out of my mouths and into my ears from the mass media cartel in the last 4 years to be moving all the way backward to that one and having to pick it up again. But here we go.
They raised in excess of $250 million, mostly from Western governments and from people's donations. And even Japan chucked money in there. I mean, it's just Mayday Rescue. They funneled it into the white helmets. Most of this money that was raised in the West went to video production outfits, public relations, into the pockets of who knows who, somewhere along the line. I mean, they were just splashing with cash like nobody had ever seen before. And you look at the people in Gaza under a blockade, forget about medical supplies, food and water aren't allowed in, or electricity. They don't have control of their telecoms, and they're there trying. The white helmets have the latest state of the art rescue equipment, inflatable bladders to lift cement, whole half buildings or whatever, or with air compressors, all this stuff, literally churning out fake videos, of which we've featured some of them at 21st Century Wire. And thank you for mentioning our archive. I'll put it up on the screen here. This is the largest white helmets archive on the internet of reports by all of our writers at the time at 21stcenturywire.com. Vanessa Beeley probably being the most well-known on this topic. But I don't know how many we have in terms of white helmets articles and videos, but I think it's probably in excess of 600. So it's a decent size archive. Hey, we have a bit of information there, and you'll find some of the videos as well. Many of them have been scrubbed by YouTube, but we've uploaded them as local copies onto our website, so you can see some of the fakery. I mean, you could do a whole Hesher. We've been over this. We've been over this ground before. We could do a whole series of shows showing all the buffoonery and the fakery. And literally the photos of white helmets posing with Al-Qaeda headbands and their Kalashnikovs at night, and then dressed as white helmets running around rescuing cats during the day. So white helmets by day, Al-Qaeda by night. And plenty of evidence. Clarity of Signal, it's a good website. We've also republished that. Others have mirrored that. So it had all the photographic evidence of that. So, I mean, we don't have to relitigate this propaganda case again. But I just find it funny that they've got nothing better than to just wheel out rebels and white helmets. Moderate rebels, white helmets again. I don't think it's going to fly, Hesher. People are pounding them already, making absolute fools out of the people from the Telegraph and so forth. The Guardian's probably seen this with horror, and they're deciding how they're going to spin their narrative, because these people, they have got nothing but that old narrative regarding Syria. They can't let it go, because if they do, then they have to admit that they were wrong for 10 years, and that's painful. I understand. All those journalists, all those columnists, all those BBC reporters, CNN reporters, Arwood Damon sniffing backpacks for chemical residue. I mean, it was a joke. Clarissa Ward running around in a Badaya with, oh gosh, what was that guy? The CNN fixer who was the media spokesperson for Al-Nusra, Bilal Abdul Karim.
Yeah.
Bilal Abdul Karim was Clarissa Ward's CNN fixer, doing propaganda films glorifying these maniacs, head choppers, that terrorize the people of Aleppo. I mean, shameless. But that's the type of journalism, Hesher, that gets you big awards in mainstream media land. And Arwa Damon and Clarissa Ward bagged huge awards for their wonderful coverage of Syria, believe it or not. So fake news is, I guess, highly valued in some quarters. Hopefully not in the future, but that's kind of like a little master class of all this stuff. Anyway, so what they're trying to do, just for everybody, they want to split the Palestinian support between those who are, anti-Assad. They've duped quite a lot of, unfortunately, a lot of people who would support Palestine, Muslim Brotherhood types. They've duped them into sort of splitting their support now because apparently Bashar al-Assad is the most evil thing on the planet. So they're told, even though Syria is fighting for the Palestinians and have never stopped fighting for the Palestinians. Actually, they've been at war with Israel for decades. So, and that's the reason why things are there the way they are in the region. So that's the instability. It's amazing. So total coordination between Israel and Al Qaeda and Idlib. Thank you very much. Case closed. Do you want to talk about the U.S. military and Al Tanf and coexisting with ISIS in this sort of symbiosis? Do we want to talk about that too? So Israel, the U.S., ISIS, and Al Qaeda, totally coordinated.
Yeah,
Totally coordinated.
And you think about all our friends who are veterans here. I know a lot of veterans around here, people that their lives changed drastically going to places like Iraq and Afghanistan and other places. And it's like so much of this is built on that propaganda, on the PNAC plan, Israel's plan to do what they want to do with Lebanon, with Gaza, with Syria. It's just like, stop all this. You're not only running psychological operations around the world, it's aimed at people that will be in our military or are in our military as well. And they're very, very effective for people like that. Like, I'm not trying to diss anyone in the military here, but if you're military minded, especially if you're young and you're military minded, there's a lot of reasons to be that. There's a lot of opportunities. There's ways to get through your turbulent youth. Your inherent turbulent youth by being part of something like that.
Pay for your college.
Exactly. You can get out of a tough situation at home, in life, a rough city. You create opportunities for yourself. You can go to college and whatnot. And it's like, if you're that type of driven person, you're probably not spending your time peeling apart the onions and the layers of propaganda and learning geopolitics and all these things take years. They take years and a lot of research and a lot of experience, even just passive, even just as a passive viewer. So
I see a lot of idealism, the people are very idealistic. People I know in the U.S. military, a lot of veterans I know what's going on. They do,
right.
But a lot of them don't, and there are people who are very idealistic, and they don't want to get into the weeds of United States clandestine support for Al Qaeda and ISIS. Traditionally, the Mujahideen in Afghanistan, which became Al Qaeda, is a complete U.S. and British intelligence creation. Period. End of story. Got the cash from the Saudis. Same story with Syria. Okay. So they don't want to get into the weeds of that because things get confusing at that point. And suddenly the world doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. And what happens? Computer shuts off. Can't take it. Don't want to hear it. Just get my flag out. Wave the flag. I'm a good American. Make America great again. Thank you, Donald Trump, Commander in Chief. Red hat. and let's go kill some Muslims. Let's bomb them over there so they don't come over here as immigrants, et cetera, et cetera. I hear a lot of this talk in the last couple of years, which is a little bit unnerving. But nobody wants to face the music as to the United States and its allies have created the problem, and they've drained the public purse to create this problem, a new problem that we need to react to again. So we're one false flag. I forgot who said this. We're one false flag on U.S. soil away from a third world war again, or a reboot of a 9/11 cycle, Iraq war cycle, because some little bomb goes off, or a big bomb, or some plane hits some building, or something happens, and all of a sudden, boom, Toby Keith, get the songs rolling. You either with us or against us. You're either on board with America or you're not, because we've been attacked, etc. We went through this again, Hesher. Could it happen again, in your opinion? Could that cycle be initiated again, or have enough people woken up, Hesher, that enough people would call bullshit and not fall for this level of manipulation as we all got dragged into in 2001? Your thoughts?
I think it absolutely could happen again. Unfortunately, they've done such a good job at polarizing us here in the United States against each other, at corrupting us, our minds into thinking that, none of this is even worth thinking about. I'm going to tune out. So many people have completely tuned out, living inside of, the ego and the feedback loops of the interwebs. So yeah, but on the other hand, there are a lot of people who get it and are very disinterested in this, that, like, I'll give credit to even Joe Rogan on this one. He has arguably the biggest audience of anybody in the media anymore right now. And he's doing his best to understand it. And he's props to him. I don't always agree with him. I don't watch all his shows or anything like that, but I do keep an eye on the short clips, and I do see him, telling his audience and his guests, like, what are these guys doing? Like, are they trying to start World War III? I actually saw him say it, and it's like, okay, that's an astute question to ask. Are they trying to start World War III, and would they use it to stop Donald Trump from getting into the White House? Is something bad gonna happen? They're poke the bear over and over again until something bad happens. Maybe it happens here, like you were saying. Maybe some sort of false flag happens here, or an attack, whatever, because people were let through that shouldn't have been let through. And would that be a means to stop what everybody thinks is about to happen? So imagine that level of confusion. Like, let's just game that out a little bit. Something happens, I don't know, dirty bomb in DC, or water supply attacked, or, whatever it is. We could go on and on and on. But that happens, and all of a sudden, missiles start flying, exchanges start happening. Would they really put Donald Trump into the White House? They might. He might be an absolutely perfect president for a situation like that. I mean, who knows? But it's equally possible that they would just say, you know what, we're suspending his inauguration. We're in some sort of martial situation, and just imagine the chaos that would create, because there's so much gas in the conservative realm right now. So much gas in the conservative realm. So if whatever happened was in a way that conservatives here in America felt like they were under attack, and the American way of life was under attack, and Donald Trump was under attack, we'll follow the bouncing ball of propaganda, and many of us will speak out against it. But is X going to allow us to?
When you get that flag waving on Fox News, and you get the transitions, America's at war, and you get CNN on the case, you get these guys, but the media environment's not the same as it was before. So, but that, back to the Rogan and the podcasters. So who are the biggest podcasters right now? Joe Rogan, Pat Bet David, all Trumpsters, okay? All Trumpsters. So are they going to go again? What if the establishment can manage to use Donald to put Donald into a corner where he has to be a wartime president to react to some contrived situation that's cooked up by the intelligence geniuses to create an arc of tension situation that we can't back out of? Are any of those podcasters going to call BS on a false flag in real time? Or are they going to do what they did during COVID, which is keep their mouth shut, go with the program for 12 months, and then after a year and a half say, I think something wasn't right with these lockdowns. A bit too extreme. And I don't know about this vaccine. Meanwhile, we were screaming like banshees, raising our alarms here in the sort of, lower mid-tier of the independent media, but the waiting for the Russell Brands, the Jordan Petersons, the Joe Rogans to do something. You say, tyranny is actually here, guys. Authoritarian systems, Jordan. The thing that you've been lecturing that you got famous for, authoritarian systems, tyranny. It's happened. They've locked us down in our houses. They shut the airports down. Jordan. Joe. Nope. Nothing. Wait a year. Wait 12 months. Wait for the book to come out. Got to get the book out first. Then gonna make some noise. Let's watch the crowd to see where's the crowd moving. Russell Brand watching the crowd. Oh, it looks like it's reaching critical mass. We can now talk about COVID was a total fraud. How about it? And the vaccine is garbage. We can safely say that. I'm not cancelable. I am a multimillionaire. I've just signed a $100 million contract with Spotify. I can't be canceled. Well, if you can't be canceled, how come you couldn't come and say this right out off the bat? Think of the change it would have made, how disruptive it would have been for all these influencers who collectively have a much bigger media footprint and audience than the entire mainstream media. If they came out and dissented against any of that stuff, how disruptive would that have been to getting everybody to comply, especially men between the age of 18 and 40? Oh, that's a kind of important demographic, isn't it? It certainly is. So I'm just putting it out there. And I know that might upset people because we're talking about their fan bases might be very upset to hear us say that, but come on, let's just get real. If a false flag happened and it was done by one of the three-letter agencies or Israeli intelligence or who knows who, and it's clearly bullshit, and they're using it as a pretext to mobilize into a major war again, is anybody going to go against the president? Legit question, because that can happen. Because guess what? It has happened before. It has happened. Tucker Carlson, he will even go there on 9/11 and JFK. So don't tell me these are the top guys in independent media now. Will they go against a Trump presidency if the establishment manages to use Trump as their vehicle for total war and chaos? And it can happen, folks. So when the intelligence people come in there and lay out all of their fake intel, and who knows, they might not even be smart enough to spot a foreign government's intelligence op within their area of activity. Okay, that's happened before as well. Happened to us in America recently. So come on, guys. I'm sorry, are we having too deep of a conversation here, Hesher? Because I can make us digress very quickly.
We could go all day on this one, and I think it would be very positive minded and kind of me to look at some of these names that we're talking about right now and say, well, I forgive them. They were behind the curve. Or Jordan Peterson, I forgive you. You were having life problems and dealing with addiction and other things and whatever, and you seem to have caught up. Cool. Like I'm a pretty forgiving person, and that's where I would really love to be with all those voices. But quite frankly, Patrick, just to answer your question real quickly, I think that judging on the way that everybody responded to the COVID fiasco, the nightmare, the ultimate grift of all modern human times, perhaps, I have very little faith in any of them that they would do that they would go against the mainstream narrative, or maybe even against the Trump administration when it comes to analyzing something like that in real time. I have a really hard time believing it, and maybe it's even more difficult to expect that from them, because now all those voices are sort of part of the Trump administration. They're all buddies with Elon. Elon's now part of the Trump administration. That they've all interviewed Trump. That means they've had to go through probably pre-interviews with Secret Service and who knows how many, handlers and this and that. Like, it's weird to think about like a comedian like Theo Vaughn. And I'm not trashing him here, but it's weird to think about him like interviewing Donald Trump. Like, what does that all mean in the background? Like, I mean, I'm not bashing him. I would like to take an interview with Donald Trump. I got some questions for him, but I would be pretty wary about the pre-interviews and all that other stuff. It's hard for me to imagine it just being like, oh yeah, he's just going to drop in and you can ask him whatever you want.
It could be very informal. I don't know the details of that, but I think I know where you're coming from. I mean, my biggest worry and concern is there is a level of lackadaisicness on the right within the MAGA camp, and hard fought election. Congratulations, they fought hard and won, and this is, I think, definitely a populist victory. President has a mandate. Question is, what's the president going to do with that mandate? All I'm seeing right now is a lot of memes by Elon and a lot of half-baked tweets and sort of drive-by philosophical ranting and muttering that doesn't mean a whole lot and is not very substantive. So that's all I'm seeing so far. Merchandise, I'm seeing a lot of merch, memes and merch. Great, wonderful. I mean, don't you think there's some serious problems in the world that might not be able to be solved by merch or pornographic memes? And these are the people in government. So we're meant to trust the plan. Are we back there?
Yeah.
Are we back to trust the plan, Hesher? I mean,
I think we are.
I've seen QAnon green shoots coming up, actually, not fully, but it seems to be like appearing around. So, but that's kind of like the guiding principle of the first administration was trust the plan in the internet sphere. And now Elon Musk is kind of lording over that sphere. He is the ringmaster of that sphere. Okay. Are we going to go back to QAnon? Is that going to be, don't worry, everything's fine? Yeah, I know those are ICBMs coming from Russia, but trust the plan. It's all good. Trump's got it under control.
Yeah.
100,000 sealed indictments on Monday. You remember all that?
I'm afraid that the spirit of QAnon and the spirit of BlueAnon no longer need figureheads or particular accounts attached to them, because the ethos and the spirit of QAnon and BlueAnon, the red and blue, red versus blue, has seeped its way into the psyche of those that live and die by power politics. So now you're seeing those. I like the metaphor you use there. You're seeing the green shoots coming up out of a lot of these people. And this is I think this is probably an intended effect of the rapid pendulum swinging that we're seeing of the last three administrations. If you can flip it every 4 years and do it in a way that is just so bombastic, so salacious, and so wrapped up in cultural warfare, and actual warfare and identity politics, you're going to just end up with the acolytes on both sides just, rushing to that 5D chess, trying to figure out how to make it 6D chess and 7D chess. And that's a defense mechanism against the cognitive dissonance that inherently comes with, those Q and Blue Anon talking points. Like they just come out of people now. They don't need to have it placed in them anymore. It's like, oh, ICBM. Oh, well, that's okay. I'm sure it's, because of this and that, and it's all part of the plan, and I have to trust it, and that's one of the most dangerous things that we face as society, is just trusting the plans of globalists and technocrats.
Well, yeah, sleepwalking while your government is engaged in an escalation ladder with a major nuclear superpower, and nobody seems to be bothered too much about it. So that's the sort of thing that does worry us a little bit, but we're paying attention, and I know other people aren't. There's other more important things that are going on, like memes and merch and stuff like that. Look, we're going to wrap this up before we go. Hesher, I appreciate you coming on. It's been a fiery conversation, and I'm sure we're going to get some hate for it, but I think there's also going to be people that are going to appreciate it as well, because having a conversation, especially within the conservative community, where we don't have any sort of boundaries as to who we can criticize and who we can't. We're still all on the same team, folks. Everybody wants the best for everybody. Everybody wants prosperity, peace, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, as Gerald Celente so eloquently said. And to remind us of that, that's what we all want, and not just for America, but for everybody in the world, ideally. And your pulpit, Hesher, the Boiler Room, give us a shout out. We'll put that up on screen. This is the show, folks, on ACR.
Yeah, absolutely. Boiler Room. We were gonna do one last night, but you know what? It was a holiday. It was Thanksgiving, so we decided to just hang back and give thanks and have a nice holiday. Because honestly, I think things are gonna get really strange in the next 6 to 8 weeks here. I hope I'm wrong, but we're certainly seeing signs of it. So yeah, you can find us at alternatecurrentradio.com. Find all our wonderful shows up there, as well as some of our friends' shows that we help curate and give platform to. And find us here on the Sunday Wire as well every Sunday. And we'll see you in the Boiler Room, where you can't miss it. alternatecurrentradio.com. Anything you need to know about that show is up there, and we'd love to see you in the chats or in the comments.
Let it be your oasis of sanity, ladies and gentlemen. That's what most of our listeners use the programming here on the great Alternate Current Radio Network for, to help us get through these difficult times, to retain your sanity, to get a little bit of sober guidance through some of these more complicated areas of news, geopolitics, and decoding and unpacking propaganda and diffusing it so that it doesn't harm you and your family and your mental state. That's this free public service we're providing at the moment. So because it's free, we need your support for that. I'll put on the banner along the bottom, winter fundraising drive at 21st Century Wire is on now. And boy, do we need your help more than ever. Come on board, help us, donate or subscribe and become a member at 21wire.tv. Also the same with alternatecurrentradio.com. Links on the show page, folks. Support Hesher and all the great programming at ACR, including Ruckus and all the talent that is on the books there. So thank you very much, Hesher. I appreciate you dropping in for this overdrive. It's been epic.
Yeah, absolutely epic. Thanks for having me, and thank you guys for watching and sharing and all the things that you viewers and listeners do out there to support us. It really means a lot.
There he goes, ladies and gentlemen. That is Hesher. Great commentary on what's going on in the world. A veteran of the information wars, no doubt. And again, a winter fundraising drive is up at 21st Century Wire. Just hit the donate button. There's a lot of different ways you can support us. We really appreciate it. We definitely need it. And we've been able to do some great reporting on the ground in Spain, covering the floods in Valencia last week with Iada Madarelli. She's also a new associate editor at 21stcenturywire.com, doing some great journalism. Got a great Middle East analysis on the site too. a great stream of consciousness history lesson from Professor Roy Casagrande. Great write-up by Yara there. That's the sort of quality content we are releasing, and we need your help to do that. So we got goals that we want to get before the end of this winter. This is the fundraising drive that helps us fund the operation for the next 12 months. So we need your help for sure, no doubt about that. So ladies and gentlemen, that's all we have time for today. Big special thank you to our first guest, Gerald Celente from Trends Journal. Got the details for Trends in the show post, as well as our description on the YouTube Live. And as well, we'll drop something on X, a link for that as well. But you can just find a lot of this via Gerald Celente on his X Twitter account as well. And they'll be in the headline here, live on X. You just click on that. You'll see Celente's tag. Go there and find out more about what he's offering there. An amazing person, an amazing guest, and we appreciate him, especially during these troubled times in the world. Listen, folks, that's all I have time for today. I'm your host, Patrick Henningsen. It's been absolutely real. It's been an epic conversation, overdrive with Hesher as well, but that's all we have time for. We're going to end the live stream now, but thank you for joining us on this live Sunday Wire. All the best.
For in the final analysis, we all inhabit this small planet, and we are all mortal.
Lately I've been watching the world gone mad. Brothers and sisters full to take a stand, to hate their fellow man, another man. Divide and conquer is the acronym plan. Distract the people, control the story. Don't believe your lying eyes, you know me. Stay in power no matter what. Playing with a doomsday clock. Turn a blind eye and gamble your trust, pushing us to turn to good.
sisters, we're being divided. Don't believe what they say. Hold on to your soul. Everyone divided in an echo chamber hole, saying that the enemy doesn't have a soul. Listening to media, tell them what to think. Sure that they are right in their information drink. Talking and manipulation, country on the road. Make sure you lead with fear for the zombies and the dopes. Glued to their devices, keep them in their head. Tell them that each other wants to see the other dead. Divide them with opinion, judge them ruthlessly. Make sure you get them angry at what the others see. People have opinions, even if they're wrong. Don't mean they're evil or know where they belong. Fill them with emotion, make them full of rage. Give them brand new statements to splatter